Why vote for Jasmine Mian?
Well, it's a great question. I think the strengths that we talked about earlier, I have this understanding of municipal policy. I think that's very important. I also will bring this work ethic and drive to getting the best for us that I think that we can. And, I also believe that I'm a great perspective taker and collaborator. And I think that that's something we really need right now. I know that City Hall is meant to be a place that's nonpartisan. It's meant to be a place that we can actually, disagree with our colleagues one day and work with them the very next day. And I think that that's very important. I have a way of really building teams and also getting people on side. And I think that that's really important for Ward 3 is that we have a councillor that can also get the remaining councillors to vote in a way that is going to benefit our ward. So unless you can get eight votes out of the 15, you really can't pass that much at City Hall. So I know we often think about the technical skill set and we think about the hard skills, but you also have to think about the people skills. And, is this person someone that will be able to get along with other people who are elected on council and help persuade them on the basis of evidence? This is something that is my commitment to residents, is that you might not always agree with every decision that I would make as your elected official, but I'll always be able to point to evidence as to why I made that decision, not just my personal preference, because I do think that we're at a very critical time right now. We can't lead with ideology. We have to be moving forward on the basis of things that are factually sound. So that's my perspective.
Hi, this video is for everyone living in Ward 3, or if you know someone living in Ward 3. I spoke to Jasmine Mian, also known as Jasmine Mia, who is running to be a councillor in Ward 3. She spoke to me about her life experiences, about her work experiences, and her plans for Ward 3 if she gets elected. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for making the time to talk to me.
Oh, thanks for having me, Roop.
Before we delve into darker, deeper questions, what areas are in Ward 3?
That's a great question. And it's McEwen, Sandstone, Hidden Valley, Country Hills, Coventry Hills, Harvest Hills, Panorama, Livingston, and Carrington.
How's been campaigning so far?
It's been really good. It's been amazing to walk every street of our ward and talk to people and hear what's on their mind. It's been a difficult 18 months for a lot of people. And just showing up and asking, hey, what's on your mind about the neighborhood and the city, what's going on for you, has been really eye-opening. I've seen just the rich diversity of our ward. I've seen the strengths of our ward, also the disparity that exists in some places. And people have been so kind and shared their thoughts with me. And it's been a really fascinating campaign. And, now we're just 1 week away from Election Day. So in some ways, it's been the longest campaign ever because, the federal campaign was 36 days. It came and went, and we've been campaigning for about 8 months. So it's been a marathon, but it's been really great because it's been more time to connect with people.
Do you find there's a voter fatigue? Do people still come to the doors excited to talk to you, or do they not want to engage anymore because of multiple elections that have been happening in the last, few weeks now?
That's a good question. Around the federal election, there was a bit of confusion. Are you a federal candidate? What party are you with? That kind of thing. But now that is over, people are definitely opening their doors. And even before that, we were campaigning in the summer and going and talking to folks. And for the most part, people are very receptive. And now everyone has those camera doorbells. So for the most part, if they don't want to talk, they just don't answer the door and you go on your way.
Jasmine, let's get to know you a little better. Your resume, it reads like a dream, an overachiever by all means. 2 master's degrees in psychology and public policy with a focus on municipal issues. To boot that, an Olympian who represented Canada in 2016 Olympics, a longtime community volunteer, a role model that I'd love my daughter to meet one day. What strengths do you think you can translate from your life experiences to the City Hall?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. And I'd love to meet your daughter one day too. I think I I'll start with the municipal policy expertise. I think one of the big things about City Hall and City Council, and I've heard other candidates mention this, is just there's a lot of constraints on what we can do in the city from the Municipal Government Act. And I think the policy innovation that we can have throughout is something that candidates actually, coming with that background is really important. And so I do have a master's degree with a municipal policy focus. I regularly watch City Council, have been very engaged for the last number of years. And I think one of the things that we often don't talk about is how technical the job is. It's a lot of land use. It's a lot of, the One Calgary budget is about this thick, and the municipal development plan, there's so much reading, so much sort of technical knowledge that is needed to do this work well. And it's something that people can learn, but certainly it's an asset that I have this background, I think. And, I'm also an Olympian and been very involved with the community and have had the privilege of representing Canada on the global stage. And that has given me a perspective of just how amazing Calgary is. I came to Calgary to pursue an Olympic dream because this was a great sports city, and had a lot of opportunity as a result of that. And I feel very much a sense of duty to give back to the community that has given me so much. And also, one of the great things about being an Olympian is you win a lot, but you also lose a lot. And, sometimes you're the favorite, sometimes you're the underdog, sometimes, you expected to do better than you would, or you end up in situations that you maybe wish you weren't in, and that you face a lot of adversity. And I think that, we talk a lot about the technical and hard skill set that we want our politicians to have, but I think fundamentally the most important skill set is empathy. Because your job as a city councillor is going to be all the time to be voting and working on things that might not directly affect you, but really affect other people. And are you able to put yourself into the shoes of your constituents if they're advocating to you for, a development to happen in this area, or for a new jog park? Maybe you don't have a jog. Do you understand the importance of the low-income transit pass, even if you don't use transit, or you've never had to utilize programs like that? So I really think that empathy and that perspective taking is something that isn't one of those things that comes up on a resume, but it is actually a very important skill set, because this job is all about people.
And resilience.
Yes.
Hanging in there
Mm-hmm.
through all the wins and the losses, like you said.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of ups and downs in a campaign. There's a lot of ups and downs when we're trying to build a city and navigating to the future. But being able to keep forward on a vision and on a path that is positive and future focus, I think, is really important. I think we're at a very critical crossroads right now in Calgary. We've been through a lot with the economic downturn, with the pandemic. And I think people are looking for positivity. They're looking for hope. And I'm really excited about many of the next generation of leaders that are stepping forward to represent in our city. I think we are a young, thriving city, and I think that we deserve to have elected officials who bring that perspective as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of candidates I live in Ward 3, so a lot of candidates in Ward 3 do have stellar resumes. And it's incredible to have that choice, although as confusing as it may be for a lot of us, because I wrote on my Facebook today, feels like I'm going in to write my midterm, and this is the first time I did not vote in advance, because I have so many questions still that are unanswered, and I never thought that I'd be undecided so late in the game. So thank you for talking to me today to help me make that decision as well. So why did you choose to run in Ward 3?
Well, good question. I live here first and foremost, and so I think that's really important. I care about the community in which I live, and so much of the ward. I mean, I spent so many days at Vivo training for the Olympics, and just saw like firsthand the need for expansion there, and just got really. I'm very interested in our city and city building. They've always, used transit in the area as well. And remember riding the bus down the McEwen Express, actually going downtown, and just thinking, man, like, why is transit still like this? Why hasn't someone thought about this? Why did we build our city this way? And so it comes from the use of our city services, my experience, really wanting and knowing that we need to push our city forward. We need to have people who care about doing the solution-oriented work. And so that's part of the reason I decided to run. I also had been really involved trying to encourage more women to run in city council in the last year and a half before the election. And I didn't actually know when, like for sure, for many years that I was going to run. And then when it came up, the 2021, and I looked at the field of candidates, and I thought, I really feel like I have something to offer here, and was very encouraged by my friends and family and people in the community to put my name forward. And I've only made more connections and more friends throughout this process. And so it's been a really positive experience. And I hope that we can, advance some of the concerns that we have in Ward 3. That's certainly my goal in running. We'll talk, I'm sure, about the issues, but there's a lot of them that we need to work on in our area.
Let's start with the Green Line. Because that happens to be the most important issue in Ward 3, at least everyone I speak to.
Tell you about it for sure, but I probably won't tell you anything you don't know, because everyone here, has been waiting for the Green Line for years. And, you even have parking lots for the Green Line, but there's no Green Line, right? And anyone who lives up in Harvest Hills will know what I'm talking about. And the sale of homes in this area, they've always pushed the Green Line as something that is coming. So when I door knock in Panorama, they, oh yeah, we were promised the Green Line when this neighborhood was built. And then up in Livingston and Carrington as well, which are the two new communities in the north end, very much, pushed that the Green Line is coming, the Green Line is coming. And I think that it's the most important infrastructure project for not only this area, but for Calgary, right? We need to have a full-scale transit system. This is something that every major city that is able to, really move into the sort of next chapter, they all have. You think about it, not just from a hosting perspective, being able to have conferences, and from a tourism perspective, every major city you go to, usually you come on the airplane and you ride transit, right? We need to be able to offer that to the folks who are coming here, and use that for in terms of attracting. But more than anything, it's actually about the equity for people who live in Ward 3. So there's so many families and what knocking doors you really see firsthand, who lives in our ward. There's so many families who might only have one car, and one of the parents takes that to work, and the rest of the family, there might be university students trying to get around. There could be another parent trying to get to work downtown. Having the Green Line is so important. We have that investment now from the federal government and the provincial buy-in as well, and it's about getting that project done. It's in its first phase, it's only going to 16th Avenue, which for all of us up here is not really north. So getting it all the way, phase 2, phase 3, up to the very northern part up in Livingston and Carrington is so important. And to do that, my first job will be making sure we get bus rapid transit really functioning up Center Street, that we're working on the land acquisition as we go forward, because I just don't want us to be in a situation in 6 months to a year from now where the conversation is, it's still easier for us to go south, so we're going to go south. We have the ridership in the north. People have been promised this for a very long time. And so I'll be a strong voice for getting the Green Line to the north.
What are the other important issues that you're hearing at the doors?
Oh, that's a good question. There's a lot. So if I had to pick 3, I would say the number one thing you actually hear at the doors, if I were to pick one thing, is pedestrian safety. So walkability and the speeding in the area is actually a huge concern. And I know there was a lot of conversation about the residential speed limit reduction, and people were either for that or against that. But folks who live on main drives, there's a lot of main drives in Ward 3. I've knocked pretty much all of them. And you talk to those folks and they say, we can't let our kids play out front because it's too dangerous. Or, there's a huge speeding problem. I met a family who's like their dog was hit outside the front of the house, and just like things like that. You have to really put yourself in the shoes of the folks who live there and how it's affecting their livability, and whether or not they feel that their kids can walk to school safely by themselves. I had an experience in Coventry trying to cross the road. So we were, a car stopped for us and we crossed the road. And another car, rather than sees that this car is stopped and goes to overtake them, not realizing that there's pedestrians there. And this is the type of thing that happens all the time. We have some great walkways throughout the ward, but then you'll get up to a road, and Panorama is a great example around the lake. It's really not clear for folks who are coming into there that this is actually a very high traffic pedestrian area. So that's something that we really need to work on, is how do we, make sure that we have proper crosswalks, that we have the rapid flashing light beacons in the places that they need to be, and also addressing some of the speeding concerns that we have in the ward. The second thing I would say that comes up quite a bit is snow clearing. And I think it's because this past year, especially right before Christmas of last year, we had quite a lot of snow, and it stayed for many, many weeks. And folks, because of the pandemic, we were largely, constrained to where we could go. And, you have a lot of parents who have strollers who couldn't push them around, get out, seniors who were very isolated by that. So it's both a pathway system problem, but also a driving problem. We have more and more people now doing gig work where they use their own car to do deliveries and that kind of thing. So we are paying for the lack of snow clearing. We're just sort of paying for it within the maintenance of our own vehicles as we sort of drag them along our city streets. So we also haven't really prioritized snow clearing in the budget at the city the same way other cities do. So, Edmonton, they have less roads than us, but and less snow over the last 10 years, but they spend more money on snow clearing. So it is an issue of prioritization. And I think what I've heard very clearly from citizens is that they would like this to be prioritized more. And it's not an issue of convenience. People are saying to me, I'm not asking the city to make my life more convenient. I just want my commute to be safe. So I think that that's something that's really key. And I think the last thing would probably be like affordability and tax stability. There's so many folks who are out of work over the last 5 years, especially if weren't impacted by the economic downturn of oil and gas. People have been impacted by the pandemic. There's been a ton of layoffs. And so that's a big challenge. And, I'm sure we'll talk about this, the downtown core vacancy rates, 30%, that puts a big strain on property tax rates all over the city. And so revitalizing our downtown and building back that base is going to be really important. So those are probably the three most common things.
Yeah, you can tell me your stance on them as well. Because yes, those are going to be major conversations for the new council that's going to be coming in now, is talking about city services versus property taxes. What do we do? Do we cut services or do we increase taxes? Mm-hmm. Revitalization of downtown, that is the buzz phrase at this election. Everyone's talking about it because, like you said, 30% of vacancy rate in downtown. That's a high vacancy rate. And impact of urban sprawl in Calgary. A lot of people are talking about that too. So what is your stance on all of those?
Well, great question. They're all related, right? So, services are directly tied to our property taxes. And when we do cut property taxes, we will often see a reduction in services. So we have to sort of choose what it is that we'd like to have, and trying to find that balance between not raising property taxes on folks in a time when they really can't afford it, but also trying to keep the stability of our services because they matter a lot as well, right? And so not wanting to see cuts to transit or cuts to a little bit of the social safety net that I think the city does provide in a time that I think people really need it. The downtown revitalization is going to be a long-term thing. It's like a 10 to 20 year project. Unfortunately, I think we didn't design our city to be diversified, right? We built a downtown that was full of office buildings for a very certain type of corporate environment that is, unfortunately, with the downturn in oil and gas, we've seen the market change, and unfortunately, many of those offices are no longer needed, and we won't probably see them being utilized. And so that's a real challenge. And I think going forward, what I'd like to see the council do is think about how, when we're building a new downtown, how are we making sure that not only is this a place that is great for entertainment and for tourism, and people want to go 24/7 and live down there, not just work down there, but how are we making sure that it truly is a diversified asset of different property classes? Because I think one of the challenges is when all of those businesses left, that literally was property tax base that just went up in thin air. And so what city council has kind of tried to do is just find another place to put it. And so they've tried cutting services. If you go to people and talk at their door, we hear a lot about the reduction in pickup for garbage collection and the way that they've seen city services impact them. So we have seen the reduction in some of our city services. The the city's also at 2013 staffing levels, so there have been cuts there. And then they've also seen a rise in property taxes, right? And you look at residential property taxes, you look at certain ones like industrial property taxes have gone a lot up. So the city's trying very hard to just move things around to keep things in as much of balance as possible. And so there's no easy answer. If we could fill downtown and have that property base back, that would really help. But I think in my perspective on it right now is how can we, as much as possible, hold the line on our services and our taxation. And so that's why my platform has always been about tax stability. I don't think cuts are going to disproportionately affect Ward 3 because we already have a service and infrastructure deficit. So when I talk about wanting to improve snow clearing or wanting to improve transit or and pedestrian safety, you can't do that without city services. And so how do you hold that line of trying to keep things as stable as we can while still providing the services that I think really make people's quality of life better up here? So that's the big tough thing that everyone is going to have to face. We'll be facing a budget right as when we get elected. So it's not an easy answer.
If someone wants to get in touch with you right now, how do they do that?
Oh, great question. You can follow me on social media, Jasmine #4 Ward 3 on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just my name, Jasmine Mian. And then if you have any sort of longer questions and you want to talk over email, it's Jasmine #4 Ward3.ca. And I'd be happy to chat. And you can also check out my website, which is just Jasmine4Ward3.ca.
I'll add all of that information in the caption. So if anyone's looking for that information, it's in the caption. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, for making the time to talk to me today. I know you're really busy, and thank you for stepping up to run as well, because it takes a lot of courage, especially as a woman, to put your name forward. And you've been doing great community work in the last few years, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, well, thank you, Roop, and I appreciate you having me on.